Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Movie 101 Review. Movie 101 Review is created to empower, of course, movies itself. And, of course, my partner in crime, Mr. Bob Lemon.
Hey Daniel, how you doing today?
Fabulous like you, Mr. Bob. I did, what do you call this? Interviews marathon on my Book 101 review. I just want to
Oh,
plug
okay.
in. Book 101 review, people, in its fifth season coming. And please do listen to my feature author of the month of December, award winning author, Miss Kat Rambo.
Mm.
How about you, Mr. Bob?
I don't know. I'm just trying to stay warm. It's cold here now.
How about the static radio? What do you want to promote over there?
Oh, you can always listen to funny stories at staticradio.com or Static Radio on most of your socials, and we're on Spotify and all the places that you listen to things.
Yes, things under the sun. I think, Bob, Mr. Bob, this is the longest uh, podcast.
We call ourselves the longest running online comedy show. Yeah, and longest running podcast, I guess, comedy podcast as well. So
Yes,
yeah,
definitely. So
every
can you tell?
week.
So every week. So can you tell us about it? How this podcast created?
Oh, it is hosted by myself and Miles Title, who's my co-host. We started doing this after college back in 1999, and basically we just tell funny stories each week, and
Where where
we hope.
internet is still modem, right?
Yeah,
1990s.
right before broadband for the most part. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
So after
Yeah,
that.
I had fast access at work, but at home I still was on dial up. Yeah, believe it or not. Yeah.
Yes.
Crazy. Everything's changed so much, Daniel.
Fast, right? Are we,
Exactly.
do you think we are riding to the fast changes of the world?
Are we doing what?
Riding to it. Are we riding to it? The
Oh,
fast changing.
I don't know. Everything, has a cycle, so I wish we would do more, but I think we'll manage, I suppose, right?
Right. Just like climate change. Are we riding to it?
I don't
Oh
know.
my
Well,
goodness.
maybe. I don't know. We'll
Maybe not.
see. Maybe,
Let's
maybe
see.
not. Yeah, we don't
Yes.
know.
And our topic today is, do you think they're riding to the
Yeah.
changes of the world?
Well, I can tell you that we're going to talk about Beetlejuice, which is the second uh Beetlejuice movie. So the first Beetlejuice movie happened in 1988, which has been a while ago, right?
Yes.
And it starred Michael Keaton, Alec Baldwin, Gina Davis, were the kind of the big stars, as well as Catherine O'Hara and Jeffrey Jones, and obviously Winona Ryder, who is a little bit more known now than she was back when Beetlejuice was made, I think. But
Yes.
so it's a sequel to that original movie way back then. I wish I knew the story as to why they decided to do this. I guess because people loved the first one so much, the Beetlejuice movie so much, they said, "Hey, why don't we do something else?"
Yes. Why not?
And so that's why we got this one this last year.
This is the last year. How about because I did not see this movie yet. So enlighten me, Mr. Bob.
So,
Who
did you see the
directed this
first
movie?
one? Did you see the first Beetlejuice
N-
movie?
no, not yet. I want
You
to
haven't seen the
feature that
first one
first.
either?
Not either. Let's see. That's why you enlighten me now.
Well, Beetlejuice.
I think it's the first one. Is it the first one?
No, that's the new one right there. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, Winona Ryder really looks young still, which is
Yeah.
amazing, right? So
Still
even though she
young.
was there in 1988, she was, not, she was probably. I don't think she was even 20 yet. So yeah, so then she still looks fairly young, and then they have they brought in uh Jenna Ortega as her daughter Astrid for this one. So she has a daughter. She's Lydia is Winona Ryder, and Astrid is Jenna Ortega. So, but the first movie, it- the Dietz family moves into this house. They have kind of a séance, and it talks essentially introduces us to the world where ghosts exist, right? In the first
Yes.
Beetlejuice, and actually, um, Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis are the ghosts of the house, and they have not moved on to the afterlife for the first movie. And the Dietzes interact with them, and they're kind of eccentric, wealthy people, and they're doing kooky things to the Maitland's house, and they don't like it, so they want to scare them out because they're the ghosts there. But the interesting thing about the first one is it introduces us to this whole world of the afterlife in the vision of Tim Burton, which Tim Burton's a director. He had a lot of influence on the artwork and the way it looked and so forth from the first one, and that's really what I think caught everybody's imagination, was this whole idea of the afterlife and how crazy it looked. And so I think that's what I would say, captured moviegoers back then. And then obviously Michael Keaton is Beetlejuice, who's this kind of demon entity, afterlife being who can manipulate reality in certain ways. And he was such a hit that they decided to make another one. So in the first one, he wanted to marry Lydia, who was the Winona Ryder's character, and went to great lengths, and all kinds of weird stuff happened. So in the second one, now we'll come up to date here. So Beetlejuice is so Lydia Dietz is kind of a medium, right? So she's a popular medium who has a TV show and can talk to the dead. And that all stems from the fact that when she was younger in the first movie, she had these experiences with Beetlejuice in the afterlife. And so it really is kind of interesting the way they started out. And Justin Theroux, who actually did a great job playing her producer slash husband to be, is really hilarious in this movie, and does a great job with his character. Now we have Catherine O'Hara back as her mom, Delia, who is kind of an avant-garde person who has a art school and so forth, and then Astrid, who was the granddaughter and daughter of Lydia, who doesn't really want to be involved in all this kind of kookiness that her family is involved in. Now, the interesting omission is Jeffrey Jones. So Jeffrey Jones was in the original one as the father, uh, Charles, I believe, Charles Dietz. Yep, and he's gone. But that they did a really good job of kind of having him be there, but not having him be there, because Jeffrey Jones, I don't know if you remember Daniel, but he kind of got in trouble with the law uh, several years ago, and is not, you know, a bankable actor at this point. And
Yes.
so, but they handled his absence really, really well. I think that was probably one of the most creative things in the movie, is how they handled the lack of Charles Dietz being in the movie, because he was such a big part of the first movie. But you'll have to watch it to see all that. I won't give anything away on that
Yeah.
front, but I thought it was really good.
I love spoilers. So, so who directed it? Is
Tim
it the
Burton.
same?
So Tim Burton directed the second one as well, and it still has that Tim Burton aesthetic.
Oh, yes.
But to be honest with you, because we're critiquing, right? So,
Yeah.
it's worn a little thin, I think. So, back in '88, it was all fresh and new and different. And in 2024, not so fresh, not so new, not so different. And so I think, the aesthetic is still there and it looks just like the 88 stuff. But unfortunately, I think they needed to do something more. Now, kind of plot wise with the movie, you have several things going on. You have Lydia as this television medium. She goes back to their original house because Charles dies. They talk about that. And they're having a funeral. They want to have a funeral there at the original house. And then we have Astrid who meets a boy. His name is Jeremy, and he kind of she's kind of an outsider and doesn't get along with a lot of people, and so there's this kind of young love affair kind of going on with her. And then of course we have to have Beetlejuice.
Yes.
So Beetlejuice comes into play because Monica Bellucci, who plays Dolores, was one of Beetlejuice's ex-wives, and she was chopped up into little pieces and put on a loading dock, I guess. But she's kind of evil, and she somehow reassembles herself and is coming after Beetlejuice. And so then Beetlejuice is like, "Hey, I gotta, I can't deal with her, so I'm gonna tell her I'm remarried." And then he tries to find Lydia Dietz again to marry her so that he can kind of stave off his ex Dolores, which is a weird plot line. I'll be honest with you. They didn't need it. So the fun thing about Beetlejuice was that he was the fun one, right? So he just did anything he wanted to do. He's kind of magical, and they didn't need to have a plot with Beetlejuice's ex-wife and all this kind of stuff. They could have just had him be mischievous, is what I think they should have done, instead of having all this other plot line involved. The two plot lines with Charles dying and Lydia going back home, and then uh, um, her, being on the cusp of being a major celebrity, along with her daughter's young romance, was more than enough plot for the movie. They kind of overdid it with the whole Dolores Beetlejuice thing, if you ask me. And the fact that if you watch the first movie, Beetlejuice himself, Michael Keaton's character, is only in the movie for about 6 minutes.
6 minutes.
Yeah, it's
Why?
very. He's only in a few scenes, and he was used sparingly, and he was used extremely effectively. And in this one, he's obviously more involved with the movie and so forth. And it doesn't. I mean, it's still fun. It's still a fun movie to watch. Don't get me wrong. If you liked the original, you'll like this. But I think the problem is that they overused Beetlejuice,
Oh,
and they should have done kind of like the first movie, where the central characters were the Dietz family and the Maitlands in the first movie, and they should have just stuck with the Dietz family and not got into the whole other business with Beetlejuice's wife and all this kind of stuff. Now, the afterlife stuff is all very fascinating because it's a whole world, right? So there's, I think, probably over the last 5 years in movies, we've had a lot of what I would call world building movies, right? So if you think of John Wick, right? You've seen John Wick, right? John Wick builds a whole world around hitmen, right? And so like, there's all these people that serve the various hitmen and so forth, and it gets to be this really deep kind of constructed world where they go to places and so forth. That's what this is with Beetlejuice. Is the afterlife is a very densely imagined world where if you when you die, depending on how you die, you may become a civil servant who then help other people get through the afterlife to go on to be happy in the afterlife. Where if you're a civil servant, you kind of get stuck in these kind of dead end jobs, and it's not so fun. And they still have all those elements there, and it's it is really quite, you know, interesting to see just that part of it. You know what I mean? They could have made a whole movie about the afterlife. To be honest with you, it would have been just as good as this was. They obviously were going between the afterlife and we'll call the living world, right? But
Yes.
but then I think the most important plot line was Astrid and Jeremy, who were young kids who get to know each other, and you know how that develops. And those two characters were really well portrayed. Astrid obviously wants to leave behind kind of all the kookiness of her family, with her grandmother Delia being, you know, avant-garde artist, and her mother Lydia being this medium, this television medium who talks to dead people, and, you know, have kind of a more normal life. Unfortunately, when she meets Jeremy, they get along great, but um, he's not what he appears to be. And I think that storyline really played out well in this movie, better than actually the Beetlejuice storyline. Um, but you know, hijinks ensue, I guess you could say, and they go through the afterlife and get chased around and so forth, and it all works out. There's a side character played by Willem Dafoe called Wolf Jackson, who's a detective in the afterlife, and he's trying to find Dolores, and that whole thing kind of plays out okay, but again, not totally necessary. If you think about the whole movie, they could have. He did a great job and everything, but he generally does. But they could have cut that out and just had the other two major plot points, um, with Delia's stuff and Lydia's stuff and Astrid's stuff. And then Rory, who was the Justin Theroux's character, was kind of thrown in there a little bit as comic relief, because he was kind of really, really kooky with what he was doing. But all in all, you know, it's a very entertaining movie, but
But who
I think
earned?
they could have done better.
Yes, but who earned more? One or two? Which
Mm,
one? Number
who
one
earned
or
more
number two?
money?
Yes, earn more money,
I
the
don't
box
know. Let me
office.
look here. I bring it up here and I'll tell you. Let's see what it. Let's see what it says. Does it give me a? Oh, here we go. So, worldwide gross for Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is 451 million,
Wow.
and worldwide gross for just the Beetlejuice singular. Let me see if I can find that. Is 74 million. So there you go. I think you have your answer. They're going to make
Why
another
is
one.
that? Why? What's the there's a big difference, eh?
Well, I
What do you
think
think?
it- the reason, I think part of the reason is nostalgia. So anybody who grew up watching Beetlejuice, you know, loved it. And it was really a fun, innovative movie at the time. And so that obviously they want to see more, and then they have kids, and it's been played on, you know, cable and streaming and everything else for all these years. I mean, it was pretty much a staple at Halloween time on, you know, cable networks. So everybody has seen it a million times, and so then, you know, you come out with a sequel of it, and Michael Keaton's still very he's a very good actor, and he does very good with the part, playing Beetlejuice, and everybody wants to see it, you know. So I think that's why it did so much better. That, and, you know, the marketing machine at the time when
Yes.
Beetlejuice came out, to be honest with you, nobody really even paid attention. It wasn't a big movie. I remember I went and saw it at the movies back in '88, and it was promoted, but not as heavily promoted as the sequel was. Right. So if in fact, I think Beetlejuice probably did more money on at the time home video than it did at the box office. It was really a kind of a sleeper kind of movie. It wasn't like a big box office movie when it first came out. So if you think of like if the opening weekend for Beetlejuice was 111 million, and opening weekend for Beetlejuice was only 8 million. It cost 15 million to make, so it was really losing money when it opened. So it wasn't a big success um, originally, and it really was one of these kind of sleeper movies where repeated people saw it on video, people saw it on cable, people saw it, you know, and now on streaming and so forth, and that's really where it got its fan base. Uh, is through all that. So that I think that's why the sequel was so much more um, well received. Plus, I think they had much better marketing um,
Definitely.
with that.
Marketing, people.
Yeah,
Marketing.
and then they're going to have a third one. It's going to be called.
Yes.
You want to
Wow.
guess?
Let's no. Say it.
Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice.
Oh,
Which,
so
if you say that, he's supposed to show up. So,
Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. So let's say you will be the director, Mr. Bob Lemon.
uh-huh.
What will be the premise of Beetlejuice? Beetlejuice.
Oh, the third one.
Yes.
I would I would love for them to do something more in the afterlife, because the afterlife scenes are way more interesting than the real life scenes. And so I think they need to do something. So this one was really more about the Dietz family, even though they kind of tacked on this extra Beetlejuice stuff with Dolores and his ex-wife and everything. I think they need to scrap that. In the third Beetlejuice movie, they need to focus on Beetlejuice, and maybe they have the Dietz family in the background, but make the whole plot surrounding Beetlejuice in the afterlife, and how he kind of does his thing, because he kind of bops around and does whatever he wants in the afterlife. And so I think you set it in the afterlife, and uh, I don't know what the plot would be, but you set it in the afterlife, and you kind of see what a day in the life of Beetlejuice is.
Hmm.
Because the thing is,
Okay.
he wreaks havoc with multiple people, not just the one family. And so I think they need to show that. They need to show him being mischievous on a broader scale. So not just with the Dietz family, but with a bunch of other people all over the world,
So
because he
do you think,
can.
yes, do you think Gen Z people will grab the opportunity to watch Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice?
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think they'll like it. I mean, it's a fun movie. And Beetlejuice is kind of the character Beetlejuice is kind of irreverent, and everybody loves that. He's the bad boy. He's going to get away with stuff, and he's going to do ornery things, and I think that's what people like. And I think that's with a third movie, they just need to move on to that, you know. And then after that one, they can do Beetlejuice Origins, where you find out how he became Beetlejuice.
Wow, series. The awesome. I thought it's trilogy, but it's now a
No,
series.
no, it can keep going. Well,
Oh
there was a
yeah.
Beetlejuice cartoon after the movie back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. I can't remember how long. It ran for a few seasons. Let me see.
Oh, they should adapt on Netflix or
It's
Amazon
probably
or
out there somewhere. No, it wasn't Michael Keaton doing the voice, I don't think, but okay, it ran from 1989 to 1991 on ABC and then on Fox.
oh
The
wow.
Beetlejuice cartoon. There was four seasons. So the first one was in 89, then 90, and then there was two different. There was three seasons on ABC and another season on Fox. So, but it was a fun cartoon, and it basically was about focused on Beetlejuice and kind of his um what he was doing, how he was just mischievous and jumping into everybody's lives and causing trouble. And that was more the cartoon, right? So it was focused on him exclusively. I think unfortunately, yeah, we may get the third one, and Michael Keaton's he's pretty old. I mean, he's in his 70s. So I don't know that he can go do. You got to make it young again and get somebody
AI.
else to be in there.
AI generation.
Yeah.
So, what do you think, Mr. Bob? Beetlejuice, if you compare to Ghostbuster, which is more successful?
Ooh, that's a tough question. Um, Ghostbusters, I think, if you're talking about money, is more successful, but that has to do with the fact that there's been what now? Let's see,
They have also a
five
series.
movies, five Ghostbuster movies now. Yeah,
Yes,
and then they do video games, and then they've had cartoons, and they've got, I mean,
merchandise.
merchandise out the wazoo. Where Beetlejuice has just got the two movies and cartoon so far. Some merchandise, but not a lot. I mean, Ghostbusters has had merchandise ever since the 80s, where Beetlejuice I don't think has. So Ghostbusters is way bigger a franchise, I think. And I know when they're so after the original Ghostbusters, there was a bunch of video games that were created off, to have the Ghostbusters. You were playing the Ghostbusters and all kinds of stuff. So they had a lot of exposure through that, um, as compared to Beetlejuice. So
Yes, definitely. So, what do you think went wrong with Beetlejuice? Marketing, as
no,
usual.
well, obviously it went right. The second one made way more money. So the first one, I think they didn't think that it was going to be as big as what it was, and it turned out they were wrong. And so I don't think they put the marketing budget when the movie opened up originally. And you have to think about it, right? So, you know, the first movie at the time had Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis were really the stars. Michael Keaton was just uh,
Big stars.
he was not the star of the movie. He was just another actor as part of the ensemble. But the two main characters were the Maitlands, which was Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis, and they're not in this movie, right?
Yes.
Because they moved on in the first movie. They moved on to past the afterlife and went on to live in heaven or whatever. But but they could have brought them back. But the reality was that Winona Ryder and Catherine O'Hara and Michael Keaton really stole the movie. And when you talk about Beetlejuice, you don't talk about those characters, the original ghost characters with Adam uh, for the Maitlands. So it really is interesting. So Adam and Barbara Maitland was their character names. So it's interesting that happened, but when you watch the movie, you don't think about that. You just think, oh, this is a fun movie, and then Beetlejuice kind of comes in with his few minutes of screen time and kind of steals the show.
Yes, yes. Let's give a big applause for Beetlejuice. Of course, thank you so much for entertaining us. And of course, to sum up our discussion, Mr. Bob, what themes does Beetlejuice explore regarding
Well,
life, death,
oh,
and
that's a good question.
afterlife?
So,
Yes.
what themes? Oh,
What
interesting.
themes?
Well,
Yes.
it touches upon a lot of interesting themes in the sense that your history can come back to haunt you is one of them. That's a big theme with Beetlejuice all the way around. The other one, I suppose, is that people aren't always what they appear to be, because of the Astrid and Jeremy situation that happens in the movie. And sometimes you can be cursed with a good thing, which is what happens to Lydia. She can see ghosts, talk to the dead, and even though it seems that she's doing well, it really is a curse because she's not as close to her family as she should be.
Do you believe
So
in
a
ghosts?
lot of good themes on there on a human level. Yeah.
Yes. Do you believe in ghosts, Mr. Bob?
Do I believe in ghosts?
Yes.
Oddly enough, I do.
So can you share a story about
I do have a story about it, but it'll take a little while. Maybe
it?
next time.
Maybe next time. Yes, people, Beetlejuice is highly recommended according to Mr. Bob Lement. If you want to rate 1 to 10, where is it?
Good solid 7.
Yes, solid 7 in terms of.
It's very enjoyable to watch. Don't think about it too much. Just watch it and enjoy it.
And is it scary or in the middle?
No, it's not that scary. Interesting, yes. Kind of gross, but not scary.
Yes. So, Mr. Bob, can you please invite our listeners to watch Beetlejuice?
Yeah, just don't say the third one, Beetlejuice, and stop right there. Enjoy yourself, and we'll see you here next week.
See you next week.
101.
What happened if I will say the third one?
Well, he may show up and turn you into a frog or something.
I want to see him.
Snake.
Beetlejuice. Oh, here we go. and us lots of money. Lots of money, right? That will be Genie.
Yeah, I wish we had a piece of Beetlejuice.
Yes, people. Again, tune in next week for another exciting episode with Mr. Bob Lement. More to come, people. See you soon. Nice topic, Mr. Bob. And
There we go.
here we go.